Kind of touched on this already, but it's interesting to me, and I hope it's interesting to you. When I came into office in 2013, we had a little over 212,000 registered voters. Currently today, we're at 265,000 registered voters. So in approximately 10 years, we've gone up 50-ish thousand registered voters. And remember, that's after dropping that 30,000, and now we're back up to 265,000. I think this is the part that you're going to find interesting. If you look towards the bottom where it talks about the party breakdown, and this is Manatee County in 2013. 43% of the county was Republican, 33% was Democratic, and 25% was no party affiliation or a minor party. Today, it is 47% Republican, 26% Democratic, and 27% something else, no party affiliation. This is the first time in the history that no party affiliation voters have risen above one of the major parties. So take that as you will, but that is the way it stands right now. Something else that's interesting to note about Florida, which is different in Florida than it is in most states. The smallest county in Florida is Liberty County. Currently has about 4,500 registered voters in the whole county, 4,500 registered voters. The largest county is Miami-Dade with 1.45 million registered voters. So the state is very, very diverse. You've got the very small counties to the very large, and the laws are frequently written in a way that tries to accommodate both of those. And sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. Again, something just kind of interesting to me, so I hope it's interesting to you, is let's look at it at a statewide level. In 2013, there was almost 12 million voters in in Florida. Now there's 13.5 million, so 1.5 million growth in about 10 years of registered voters. And then the party breakdowns, if you'll look, the trend is the same in Manatee County as it is statewide. The Republican have bumped up a little bit, but mostly the Democratic registered voters have dropped, and no party affiliation has increased. So 10 years ago, there were about 5% more Democrats registered in Florida. Today, there's 5% more Republicans registered in Florida. How did people choose to vote? In Florida, you have 3 ways to vote. Vote by mail, early voting, and then also going to the polls on election day. First, I want to take a second and talk about early voting. Early voting is a term that nationwide has been used for any type of voting that happens before election day. So that would include vote by mail, that would include what we traditionally in Florida call early voting. Early voting in Florida statutorily refers to that window before the election where you can go vote in person. So those are the 3 methods: vote by mail, early voting, and election day. I'm not going to go over this too hard, but I want to look at 2 trends. One is the increase of early voting and the increase of vote by mail and the decrease of the polling place voting. 2020 is not the best election to compare this on because as much as I'm sure you've tried to forget it, 2020 was coronavirus. Everybody, it threw everything in a whirlwind. So vote by mail did go up at a pretty significant rate, which is probably not a good comparison. And people chose to vote at the polls less, but the trend is still there. If you look 10 years ago, or now closer to 14 years ago, 60% of people that voted at the polls. In 2020, only 20% of the people that voted on election day. Now, because 2020 and 2022 aren't the best judges, we're not really sure what to expect in 2024, but we know it's not going to jump back up to 60%. Will it be higher than 20%? Probably, but probably closer than the 25 to 30% of the people that vote are going to vote on election day. Everybody else is going to vote before the election day ever comes about. There's been, vote by mail has seen trends up and down. It's seen different parties have seen it differently. And I don't know what the feeling in the room is, but currently, as I understand it, the Florida Republican Party is pushing vote by mail. It's pushing early voting, pushing both of those methods. So we see that as this trend increasing so that by election day, most of the people that are gonna vote have already voted. Presidential turnout. So this is probably a little hard for you to read, but that is basically the turnout for a PPP. PPP is a presidential preference primary. That's the blue line. You can see it kind of bobbles around. A primary, and then the general election. Mostly what I want you to take out of this is that for the primaries, a 25% turnout is a really good primary turnout. For a general election, we usually get above, for the last quite a while, we've been getting well above 70%, 70 to 80%, which is nationwide is a really good turnout. But I really wanted to focus on the primary. It's still a low turnout. It's been a low turnout for as long as I know, and it's only groups like this that are going to increase that turnout. People have to feel the need for the primary to be important to them to increase the turnout.